Hey everyone, my name is Penny Zanker, and it's time to reset. This podcast goes beyond just navigating change. It's about new ways of thinking about how you can approach challenges, how you can shift your mindset when needed, create some space and grace for yourself so that you can rethink, recharge, and reprioritize when and where needed. Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Thank you for hitting play and sharing this next episode with me. It's time to reset. Hello. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know that you are going to love it because we're going to talk about something that doesn't matter what your role is, how old you are. It's something that we do naturally, but we could always get better at it. And that's how we incorporate storytelling into anything that we do. So no matter who you are, who you're listening, thank you for being here. And I'm sure you're going to take something great away. And Sara Connel is with us today, and she is amazing. She is a 5-time best-selling author and the founder of Thought Leader Academy, where she helps coaches, experts, and entrepreneurs scale impact and create 6 to 7 figures by becoming best-selling authors, in-demand TEDx speakers, wherever she went. I needed her, right? And she's been featured on Oprah, the New York Times, Good Morning America, Today, Forbes, Entrepreneur, and TEDx. So she is the bomb. Sara, welcome to the show.
So happy to be here, Penny.
Were you when I needed you, when I was just starting out? And it's so helpful to have someone who can help you to find your message and elevate you. I honor the work that you're doing.
Well, thank you. We were probably hacking through the forest with the machete at the same time, metaphorically, right? It was a slow road getting there, but it's so exciting to be able to do this work.
So tell us a little bit about, I mentioned that we were going to talk about storytelling. So why is storytelling important to you, and why is it a center of what you talk about and how you position yourself?
For sure. It's one of my favorite things for a couple reasons. And I know, Penny, you're well versed and informed on this. So I love neuroscience. We weave that into, ironically, we're the only, I think, book and speaking coaching program that is brain science based. And the reason I bring that up in relation to story is that there are significant neuroscientific research studies now that show that the human brain, people are what the neuroscientist Lisa Cron calls wired for story. There's a great book about that. And what essentially the research has proven is that when people hear facts, data, content, they can take some of it in, right? Somewhere around 10 to 15%, they'll sort of absorb and they'll remember it for, let's call it, like
half a second.
Yeah, 2.9 seconds or whatever. When we share something in story, the numbers go up in a pretty dramatic way. For example, it's something like 80% more retention and internalization of what's presented. So anyone who is looking to make an impact, whether it's on your kids, whether it's with a community group, whether it's something, those of you that might be writing a book at some point or articles or creating a video, whatever it is, if you're in a philanthropy and you want to get people to be excited and donate, always you want to think story first, right? Because people will listen, they'll remember. It also drops us from the head, rational left brain, critical, judgmental to things we don't know and people we don't know into our heart. And that is such a cool thing. And so even when I teach book writing and speaking, we always start with a story. All the time. And you'll see great speakers will always do that. TEDx speakers, keynote speakers, a lot of good, you can start with a statistic, a joke. There's all kinds of openings, right? Story somewhere up front and center is going to always make a connection with people, because then you don't have a bunch of people kind of like, or reading, why should I listen to this person? Suddenly we kind of are little kids that lean in and think, I want to see what happens. It's just a natural neurological response that we have. And so I love that from an impact perspective, but certainly if you're in any form of sales, you want to be thinking story sells, right? People say sex sells, well, story sells. And it's, like I said, you make a heart connection. Even when you don't know someone, if they start telling you a story, if you have any interest remotely in the person or what they're starting to say, you're going to want to hang around and see the end. So the idea of breaking the attention span barrier, right now we have a 2.9 second attention span of the average adult. That's the statistic because we're frying our brains with our...
I know. I talk about it. It's less than the goldfish today. I don't know who's studying the goldfish and knows what their attention span is, but hey.
right? We're less. And so the story's going to capture someone's attention and earn the next 2.9 seconds, really.
Yeah.
So those are just a few reasons why I love it.
Yeah, I mean, as a public speaker, I see that all the time as well as, and I've tried different things out, right?
Sure.
It's a lot of experimentation. I'm sure salespeople do the same thing, and there's nothing that gets people to tap into their curiosity and lean in, like what's going to happen next. And the better that you can tell the story and understand how to bring that about, have people see themselves in the story and things like that really do help to make that connection. Then they're going to pay more attention. They're going to
Mhm.
want to hear what you have to say next. It's very powerful. And I know you talk about creating movements, right?
Yeah,
And I think that's also story based, right? As
it
people
is.
get behind a movement, typically because there's a powerful emotional story there.
Completely. And even think about if the point of starting a movement with your life mission or your idea, your methodology, that people have to be interested enough to want to join something, right? And then that connection, Brene Brown said the four most important words in any language are, you are not alone. And a story can let someone feel that they're not alone. Like you said, if they can see themselves in your story or they've been through something similar. And even as just a quick experiment, if I said to everyone here, books are really impactful. In fact, books can change lives. They can save lives. The New York Times has done studies on it. And I gave you some statistics about a percentage of books that it's high. Something 80% of people can name a book that had a significant impact on their life. Now, I tell you that. You might remember it, you might not. But if I share with you, and this is true, that when I was 23, I got recruited out of college to work at this advertising agency. And I didn't really want to work there because I wanted to be a writer, but I thought I wasn't good enough. So I went and read other people's writing at college and then got a sort of creative adjacent job in advertising. And I wanted to write books, right? And so I take this job and I get in, and it's at the height of the Me Too era, which, I mean, is it ending? I don't know. But it was a really toxic, abusive, traumatic place to work, as many people have experienced, I'm sure, listening, something along those lines. And one day I had just felt at the breaking point. I truly felt continuing to go to this job was going to kill me. I devolved into a serious eating disorder. I was not taking care of myself. I felt constantly in a state of post-traumatic stress, and I felt trapped because I was person supporting herself and I didn't know what else to do to feed and house myself. And I felt like I was slowly disintegrating. And I was flying back from Boston to Chicago, and I was in the airport in Logan Airport in Boston, and they're calling my flight down the corridor, and I see a bookstore. And books, I wanted to be a writer, and books were my escape. They were my friends. They were all the things. And I ran into the bookstore. I had no time because, again, the flight's being called. I grabbed a book randomly, got on the plane, and started reading. And I read the whole book in one sitting. And by the time I finished the book, I decided to leave the job. So even if I end up on the street, I am going to get help for my health, my mental and physical health. I'm going to put it back together, and I'm going to find a way to pay this gift forward. This woman who's not a celebrity, it wasn't Oprah, it wasn't Michelle Obama. It's a
Right.
woman named Margaret Bullitt Jonas, who no one's heard of, wrote a book called Holy Hunger. And because she wrote it, I'm still here.
Mm.
So I think if we went A/B test,
Yeah, for
hearing a
sure.
book's
I'd much rather
impactful,
hear that,
right?
right? Because then, like, breaking it down, right? You can tell me that 80% of people have an impact, and I might think about a book that had an impact, but this then really gets you emotionally connected. And now I want to go read that book.
Well, in your book, Penny, maybe there's one that conjured up in that story back to like having someone, if we were doing it as a talk, we might say, did you ever have a book change your life? And then everyone's thinking about it. And Penny, you might have some that you think of, or a talk or a video or
Right.
something. And that's so much more interesting to hear someone's story of a book that had a huge impact versus hearing a statistic. Okay,
Absolutely.
who
And
cares?
and from the other side, I don't know if you ever contacted
Yeah,
that woman, but I know that you've probably been contacted. You've got 5 best-selling books. I can say that from my side, it makes it worth it just from who reaches out to
right.
say how it's made a huge impact in their life. So
It's everything.
from
It's everything.
from all sides, right? It's very powerful.
Absolutely. So story to me is at the fundamental. I mean, it really is. It's the movement I lead of helping people who have something important, whether it's their life experience or, again, an expertise, a methodology that they want to share with the world. That's the story that woman told, put me in the moment of saying, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pay this gift forward for the rest of my life by writing my books and helping other people do the same thing. And
Right.
hopefully
I
we're
call
in
that
the
a reset moment, by the way.
reset.
And
There we
when
go.
we have, I mean, there's big ones and there's
Mhm.
ones that we can have every single day, but that moment where you realize that this isn't what you want to do, that you need to be somewhere else, and that it changed things for you. What do you think for somebody who's feeling like they have this inside them, but they
Mhm.
haven't brought it out, or if they just want the opportunity to do better? Do you have a couple of, for them to reflect on and think about, like, are there some steps that they might want to think about
Mhm.
going through, or how would you, where could they
Yeah.
start?
So there's sort of, I'm going to answer with two short things that I use with all of our clients because this used to be agonizing. It was agonizing to even think if you feel like you have a story in you, a book in you, something you want to share on a video. It's like, well, which one? And how do I share it? And I have a million. I either have a million or I don't think I have anything. And I mean, we get into these polls, right? And
Hmm.
it's very common. So if anyone's listening and feels like that, you're not alone. So the first thing is this fun exercise called the whiteboard. So anybody could do this right now while you're hanging out with Penny and I. And this is if you have, again, multiple ideas for a book or a talk or a video or something you want to do on YouTube, whatever it is. And you're just going to take 5 minutes on your timer and just write down some kind of description of each one. So you might say, if it's a book idea, you'd say, the time I biked across Europe with my best friend is one book. You could write about something, say you're a doctor and you're going to write about your unique way that you heal some condition, or you have your family story of immigration and you want to write about that. Okay, so you just write a little, like almost title for each one of these ideas. And then you take a deep breath because it's very relieving to put them on a page and not have them in our heads swirling around going, what do I do? And then I ask people to think about their most important goal right now. So if someone's most important goal is generating revenue in their business, for example, if you're an entrepreneur, then you might look at that list of ideas and think which of these most directly would connect people to my business. Which one is going to have people want to work with me, hire me, invest with me, whatever it might be. Because then you might eliminate, if you're the doctor, the biking trip and the family immigration story for now. And you might choose to write about that unique health methodology that you have. If someone's desire is storytelling and helping people connect to the best times of their youth, right? Then maybe the bike trip one, right? So you think about what's the most important goal, because what that does is it clarifies what's the P1, right? The priority one. And then you still have the thing of, once you pick an idea, well, then how the heck am I putting this thing together? What goes in it? Again, whether it's a video, a talk, a book, doesn't matter. So I love this framework called SSS. And I actually came up with it because I was procrastinating from writing, a thing that lots of us
As many
do.
writers do.
Yeah, as many of us do. And this was productive procrastination, which I think is a real thing. And I reverse engineered 100 New York Times bestselling books. And I was really committed to this procrastination. So I reverse engineered, thought, what did they all do? Like, what did every one of these people that made such impactful books that people loved so much, that wanted to share them and read them and buy them for people? And what they all did, or what I came up with, these 3 S's. And first they told a story, so it connects with what we're talking about, but it's a specific story. It's their origin story of what they're going to share, right? The origin story of the book they're going to write or the talk they're going to give. And the second S is what I call the situation. So that's where we kind of zoom out and find the universal and the specific. So I might share my story about finding that book in the airport bookstore and it changing my life. But if I was writing a book on how to write a book, very meta, but, zoom out, then in that second S, I'd be talking about the situation that 200 million people in America say they want to write a book. And while there's lots of books, very few of that 200 million will ever do it. And what's that about? And I would talk about the situation where we feel a desire to write a book, but we get stuck and we think we're not good enough, or we have no time, or, I'd talk about the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd also talk about the stakes, right? Like, what's at stake if we ignore that creative impulse, die with our music still in us? I mean, to be dramatic, or get to the end of our life and have a regret that we didn't leave something behind as a piece of our legacy in that way. So that's the situation. And then the rest of your video, story, book, talk, whatever it is the solution. It's the third S. So even if it's fiction, even if it's poetry, you're taking people on some kind of a journey. You're getting them from the situation that they're in somewhere, whether it's traveling to a different land, a different planet, if it's sci-fi, whether you're helping them see the world through the unique experience of your upbringing, perhaps, or place that you lived. So the solution is the end. And when we have those 3 S's, it grounds us. It gives us a skeleton. It gives some bones to something
Another
that we
S.
create. Yeah, there it is. I didn't even think of that. So we've got a structure, another S, right? Which is really overwhelming to people. It's like, okay, I have this idea. What am I going to do with it? So I like that. Of course, there's lots of arcs and hero's journey and Shiro's journey and all kinds of things that we can play with. But I really like the SSS, because if you were asked tomorrow to go share something with an audience, anybody listening could put those three things together.
Yeah, no, I like it. Simple, right? It's got to be simple so it's accessible when people need it.
Yeah.
You mentioned procrastination, right? Whatever, whether it's productive procrastination
Or
or
not.
not. People find themselves, let's say, whether it's writing the book or it's anything in their life.
Yeah.
On this show, when I talk about time to reset, it's also giving them some practices of how they can reset. So, when you want to stay on point for yourself, what are some reset practices that you might engage in on a day to bring you back into alignment with what you're working on or back to your P1 that you talked about?
Yeah, Penny, I love this. And I love that even coming in, if people haven't been a guest on your show, there's a reset before you come into the studio, if you will, right? It's like, take a breath. What's the new feeling you want? I love that. I did it when I saw that prompt. And it
Good.
was because I had just been writing, I've been working before this. So it's so beautiful.
Good. I'm
So,
glad. Well, we're always jumping from thing to thing, and
right?
we need to just take a little bit of space here and there to align ourselves. So you're procrastinating. So what do you do in those
Yeah.
moments? What
Yeah.
is
So
your strategy?
because I've done both productive and unproductive procrastination, it can happen anytime. So the thing that I love to do is acknowledge it, right? The idea that we can't change something we don't acknowledge. So just say, oh, look, I'm procrastinating. Yesterday I'm going to answer emails. I'm going to fill out my son's camp form. I didn't need to do any of that. I need to write 1,000 words in my book. That was my P1.
Mhm.
And so I said, okay, an acknowledgement, right? It's like, okay, with love, compassion, no judgment. I'm procrastinating. I'm avoiding. Cool. And then what I love to do is set the bar so low. So, like I said, I made this commitment to write 1,000 words. I take that off the table. I say, you know what? How about write a sentence? How about write for 5 minutes? I make I call it the ridiculously easy goal. So I take all the pressure off. And then if even that feels hard, this is just an example with writing, but this can be about making a sales call in your business. It could be about outreach to some, it could be anything. And then I say something like, this gets to be, I'm going to commit to writing the worst 10 minutes of writing ever. If I've said 10 minutes, or it's going to be the most terrible sentence to ever be written. And what happens is you kind of start laughing at yourself. Maybe this will be the worst sales call I've ever pitched. This will be the worst conversation I've ever had with my kid. It could be anything that we're avoiding, right?
I like
And
that.
when we commit to
Take
it,
all the pressure off. We talked
really
about
commit
stakes
to it, like
earlier.
go
Just
for it. It's like,
take it off.
take it off. It's like, yeah, this is going to be trash. Absolutely. It's going to be total garbage. And you start laughing a little. So you're in a different frequency, a different state. And typically it's not the worst. And if it is, you've already said that's fine. You've made that okay. So all the pressure's gone, all that resistance. And then this is a neuroscience thing out of Johns Hopkins. It's called pleasure bundling, which sounds dirty. And it's not, unless you want it to be. You could do that. But in this case, it's a research-based technique where this is what's really cool. The surface, it sounds like just incentivizing ourselves. So you'd say, okay, I'm going to write or make the sales call or talk to my husband about this thing, whatever the thing you're avoiding, procrastinating. You say, when I do it, here's the reward I'm going to give myself. So that's very normal, like kind of cognitive behavioral therapy. You just say, I'm going to treat myself to fill in the blank, a walk around the block, a call with my friend, ice cream bar, I don't know, whatever is your thing. But this is what was really cool in the study. The people who committed to only give themselves this particular pleasure, this thing that they enjoyed, after they'd done the thing that they were procrastinating on, which could be working out or doing anything, they not only did the thing more frequently because of the reward. Okay, we would expect that. But their brain neurons and their chemistry changed. So they started to look forward to and enjoy the thing they'd been procrastinating on doing. So the writing or the workout or the conversation or whatever suddenly became something they had pleasure in, a pleasurable association with. That is really neat to me. And so I will also pleasure bundle and say, great, I love taking a walk outside. For example, that's a real treat for me. So, or playing with my son and my dog, something fun. So I'll say, okay, when I do the words on the page or whatever it is, I get to do this playtime or this walk. But again, over time, if you keep pleasure bundling, you'll start to want to do the thing first and then have the fun treat after, which I think is really neat.
Yeah, it is neat. I mean, it's crazy how we can rewire our brain and that it is possible. So that's pretty awesome. All right, we only have a couple minutes left. So
Yeah,
let me ask you sort of some rapid fire.
do it.
Music and different other methods are really good for resets as well. So what's your favorite song?
Okay, so many, but if I really need a confidence boost, Carrie, is it Kelly Clarkson's Champion?
Okay, awesome. And one thing that you feel like you need to reset around right now?
Yes, I get to reset around new business model that we're doing in our business. So just to get excited instead of freaked out and overwhelmed.
Awesome. And top go-to way to calm yourself down?
In a pinch, deep parasympathetic breath into the belly, box breathing, breath work.
Nice. I'm going to breath school right now and I'm learning all these different things about breathing. So Sam
Amazing.
Kabert, if you're not familiar with him, he's got this. It's free every Wednesday, and then he's got an extension, something you're interested. I'll send you a link.
Awesome.
I'll put it also for everybody who's listening. I'll put it in the show notes. It's really good stuff.
It
Just breathe,
works.
right? Jane Fonda's been saying it for years. For those of you who are old enough to know who Jane Fonda is,
Oh, I am, Penny.
don't
I am.
forget to breathe, right? So great. So now, how can people get a hold of you and find out what you've got coming up? Because I know you said you've
Absolutely.
got some things you're working on, a new book and an event in September or October. So tell us about that.
We do. So please feel free. Instagram is great if you want to DM me if anyone has an idea or you need support around anything we talked about today at Sara Connell, which is SaraConnell. Always excited to connect with anyone. And then we've got tons of resources like some of these brain-based different recordings you can listen to while you sleep to help you with your creativity and your storytelling over at our YouTube channel, which is at Thought Leader Media.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
And thank you all. You guys are amazing. And I know you took something away, and there's so much more to it, right? We could spend another hour on it. But the important thing is you take one thing away, one thing that you can put into practice, and then you can go dive in and find out more about what Sarah's got going on and dig a little deeper. So thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you for spending this time with me. It really means a lot. If you're feeling a little off, distracted, overwhelmed, stuck, or just out of sync, remember that's your signal to reset. And that's all it takes, just recognizing one reset moment at a time. So stay tuned for more tips, tools, tricks, stories, strategies, all here on Time to Reset. We'll see you in the next episode.